Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Friday Fandemonium. Your Crown Prince of Fandemonia, bringing you over 9,000 fan, fandom gigawatts of pure fandom joy. I sound a little off today. Experienced a touch of dental pain. Dental pain is the worst pain because you can't tolerate it and you can't ignore it. So I got to see if I can find a dentist. So the agenda for today, I only got one unboxing. It's, one comic came this week, which was a little disappointing because usually right after this, I go relax and read comics for an hour or two. It's like my Friday afternoon thing. So I only got one to read basically, which is like a graphic novel. So it's like I give me half an hour in there anyway. Then I have just my standard articles, right? And at the end, I'll be doing fan films again, but this time it's Lord of the Rings. And these are the two best, well done fan films like ever of all the fan films I've seen. Slightly better than Star Trek Continues, for example, and Prelude to Axanar in terms of quality, but in terms of story content, much better than all of them. So that's kind of the agenda for the show. It is 3:01. I'll wait to five minutes before I do the unboxings. Prior to that, the computer's running pretty well. Have one little hiccup. I might do a Living with Linux stream tomorrow afternoon just to talk about more in depth. I know that might bore people if I just go way into computer stuff. I think I talked about this last week. There was the computer just crashed. Like it was booting into the Ubuntu recovery shell basically, and it was giving me a long error message. And the first part of the error message was something that had been occurring since the beginning, but it blended into the actual error message I needed. So it was very confusing until I sort of spent a couple hours just googling around to try to figure out. And then eventually I figured out that the first part of the error message, there were actually two error messages, not one. And the first part was just because Ubuntu and Debian has not bothered implementing all of the ACPI, which is a power spec specification. So what AMD doesn't hurt Linux in any way. It just shows up an error when you boot up. And the second one was the error I needed, which was a sort of indicated there was some file corruption on the drive that like Grub boots is like the bootloader for Linux. Then it boots the partition you had the default to or choose, and it was corruption in where it had to go, which no one happens to Linux Mint. So it was telling me that those. So once I figured that out, I found a solution, which is basically to run the Linux disk version of Check Disk, and it ran and booted just fine, and it all went away. But it was a nightmare of a problem. Some of it's my fault for not obviously being newer to dealing with the harder to diagnose parts of Linux. But it's what it is. Oh, excuse me. So that was that. On a good note, I showed this product off. Matter of fact, I will show it off now while waiting. I'll show you what it looks like. I'll go and grab an Amazon picture of it, so to speak. Okay. So this is I talked about this. It's a USB switch. So it's a USB hub, right? What you would call a USB hub, right? And what it does, it's not a real switch. Switch is a technical term in computer. It means something very specific. It's really a USB hub with a switchable output. Okay, so I plug right now, as I said, my wireless keyboard fob into it, and I could press either of that button and then for output 1 or 2, and it successfully outputs. Now, there was a glitch with it, not so much with it, but with when I switched to output 2 for the other computer, it didn't recognize my Logitech receiver. Like normally, if you just plug it straight into the Windows PC, it'll find it and install the drivers for it, right? But through the USB 3 hub, it didn't do that, which I guess is a limitation of the hub. So what I probably want to do at some point when I'm not lazy is getting up and just plugging into the PC, letting it trundle for a while, and then pulling it back and put it back worse, just so that it installs the drivers and whatever. But what it's capable of doing though is pulling out the manual keyboard and mouse, pulling right to the hub, and they work just fine as if they were remotely. So this thing it works as intended. It's I don't need the expensive KVM switch, just to manage my gaming PC. And I'll show you, I think I showed you last week. I can boot into the game PC and I can remote it RDP into the gaming PC successfully and be fine with it, right? So, I almost closed my StreamYards. That would have been bad. So let's stop screen. Okay. We can close that out. For my StreamYards where I'm not going to accidentally close it, which is on the left side. Okay. So, yeah, that was pretty solid. Why did I close? I always keep... I always keep the window open so I could see if I get disrupted or whatever. As far as the way I'm gaming through the other PC, it works just fine. I mean, I'll show that off as a matter of fact. Where has my brief gone? Okay. So I will present, share screen, Windows, and you guys should be able to see my gaming monitor, my gaming screen pop up in a second. Yep, there it is, and it works just fine. I can load up. I have World of Warcraft ready to go here, but if I was someone who would game online, this would be a way to do it. I got to get rid of that GeForce experience pop up. I did in the past, but it loads just fine. The only real limitation, I guess you would say, is sometimes the moving around, because it's going through RDP. The mouse and keyboard aren't as tuned as if I were native, but they work for casual gaming. I'm not a raider anymore, so it works out. And I could run this. Obviously, it's RDP, so I could run this Windows machine as if I were native. No problem there. So that's pretty solid. Stop. Okay. Okay, it is 3:05, 3:08. So I will do the singular unboxing. The power of scissors compels the unboxing. I will not dox myself, of course. So I got Dead Lucky. The Dead Lucky. So I've been really getting into the massive verse from Image, I believe. Image or Dark Horse? Image. Published the Image. And they rebooted it about a year and a half ago. And I've been enjoying the artwork level. I've been enjoying the story. It's very minimal, like not overly woke. They're just like the right balance of woke to not woke and all that. They know the comics are entertaining. So Radiant Sun and the Radiant subset of universe I like. It's science fiction-y, superhero-y, right? There's the supernatural corner with Rogue Sun, which I got into more as the series went on. And I'm going to give it one more graphic novel's worth of look, which will probably be here next week, right? And if that's the case, then I'll I think they just published the first graphic novel in January. I think the second one's out or something like that. So that's kind of where that stands. And now I'll find out if I like this particular corner of that universe. Let me cut up the contraband. I'll entertain you with cutting things up for the brief moment. Yeah, I gotta order some comics. I might do a pre-recorded comic ordering video and just post it, rather than a live version of it. Okay. Okay. Now let's I'll show off a little bit of the artwork inside before we get to the articles I'm going to talk about. Okay, so let's get into these articles. First up, I will present. Share screen. Cavill. Okay, so Henry Cavill rejects the trend of gratuitous sex in film, demanding answer for how it impacts storytelling. Okay, in an era where sex scenes have become more common in films and TV shows, actors of late have shared the distaste for such scenes, claiming they're often used as a cop-out for storytelling, which is true. Several high-pro actors, including Henry Cavill and Penn Badgley, have spoken out about their discomfort with excessive intimacy on camera. Okay. And we get Cavill's comment, I'm not a fan. I don't understand them. I'm not a fan. I think there are circumstances where sex scenes actually are better for a movie rather than just the audience, but I think sometimes they're overused these days. And he's right. Overexposure, this is something you learn from pro wrestling, right? Like when Andre the Giant was alive and his prime wrestling, Vince McMahon understood once he got Andre assigned that you cannot overexpose Andre. You can't have him on TV every week constantly wrestling. You can't have him show up in the same towns every time. He's got, you got to have minimal so that you appreciate the special when you see it. And sex scenes in movies, for example, like that. If you're going to have a romance scene, it's got to mean something to the story. So the audience says, oh, look, just another chance to see a hot chick or a hot dude on screen, I'm all for fan service, and this issue actually comes up with a late article. But to a point, that's why they have B and C movies, for B grade actors and actors who are never more than what they physically look like, So that there's more to this article. You can also, of course, read it. So let's go to now. I have two things about Godzilla, Godzilla Kong. The way to say that, by the way, is just don't pronounce the X. Okay. So at first when I saw this, I was like, "Ugh, a buddy movie." But then I remembered that Lethal Weapon 1 was not the buddy comedy that 2, 3, and 4 became. Okay, Lethal Weapon 1, which is obviously the best of the series, not the best made. You can make the argument the third film is the best made of the series. But in terms of the best story was the first one, where Riggs and Murtaugh were not friends. They became allies and friendly, and maybe by the end of this episode you can call them friends. But they were thrown into a situation out of their control and had to work together. And that, if they're going to do it in that sense, that part of this movie I'm okay with, right? All the pretense of what we've heard about this film says that it's really a Kong-centered film. So this is really King Kong's movie with Godzilla as a guest star who has, like in a pro wrestling term, he has run-ins basically. and and Godzilla has a big fight with that. Like they're teasing this, but I think there's another monster who's like an anti-Godzilla, right? Like whereas Godzilla tends to heat things up, this is a cold-oriented dragon of some sort, and they've been teasing Godzilla fighting this thing that Godzilla keeps it at base so the world doesn't go into an ice age. That's one of the things, right? And that Super Kong, basically Kong's enemy, enslaved this thing, right? And that ancient war between the Titans and all that was involving that Super Kong making an ice age or the ice age. Because remember, in the real world, the Younger Dryas event was a worldwide cataclysm that ended the previous ice age. So they're tying into that, and I believe that their intent of this film is to have Godzilla be like, the guy who runs in the wrestling ring and helps out the main guy, and maybe has a big side fight with the other guys helping the other guy, right? So I think that could make this work. We'll have to see, obviously, because Wingate's previous Godzilla vs. Kong was the best of the legendary movies. They still had a little too much human crap in it that had nothing to do with the kaiju, but they had less human crap in it, so that was okay. So if it's like the first Lethal Weapon film, I'm cool. If it's like 224 where it's a buddy comedy, I'm not. And I did link below because the second trailer is out. It gives more of a hint of the other monster that Godzilla is there to fight. That only Godzilla could be, because Godzilla clearly could beat Kong. We know that. Even though Kong is a little bigger, Godzilla is also more powerful. I believe they're going to say that the reason that Super Kong has these other monsters because he can't beat Godzilla either. So I think that's kind of what they're going for here. So we got that. Now I have a guest out there. I'm not sure who it is. Probably someone on. But I have become classic drive-by listening. So sure, tab. So now we have. So this is the I've shared the trailer below. I've shared the other article. So these two articles I just showed now, I have links to them both so you can read them in detail. Now we'll go to now the next article is basically how do I put it? So Mark Guggenheim, what happened is this. Prior to the modern era, let's say post, okay, so the internet's been around since the 50s in one form or another, right? But you guys only really think of, when you guys think of internet, for the most part, you think of what we call really as the World Wide Web, the web. And that came up in the 90s, right? When they invented HTML and XML and all. And in that era, we've basically got the social media universe arose as a context of that. And so a lot of things that we never used to know about now get routinely reported, and people use the web and social media to try to generate buzz for projects, and that's what this is. So this is Mark Guggenheim, who, if I recall correctly, was one of the two Arrowverse producers, but the one who actually was into the comic book part of it. And he felt he got screwed over by Silvestri and the woke stuff. And obviously, I think he talked to Brandon Routh, and now he's trying to float this idea and get fan buzz behind the idea of getting a Superman TV series led by Brandon Routh somewhere in streaming, right? Which I wouldn't be opposed to, because I always thought Brandon Routh did a good job. And important to note, in Arrowverse, Brandon Routh didn't play the Superman he played in Superman Returns, which was the Christopher Reeve Superman. He played Superman from Kingdom Come. Okay. And that would be interesting if they did. But the original talk was having Kingdom Come Superman TV show with Brandon Routh. Now they're talking to make an actual sequel to Superman Returns / Superman the movie and Superman 2. So again, I love Superman. I think Tyler Hoechlin's getting jobbed. I hope, even though season 4 is going to be severely nerfed because of the low budget, I hope it does well enough that maybe Netflix picks him up for a season or two, because that show is so underappreciated. Hoechlin has done a great job as Superman. The cast is great. All the actors are great. The settings are great. They got a great guy playing Lex Luthor. Guy who played Samwise, and But anyway, point is, there's no guarantee this series is ever going to happen. This is Guggenheim floating this out in the public to generate buzz. That's what this is. So I'll let you read that below. That's basically what this type of article is. Of course, I didn't show you the tab. Hey, Brian. Yeah, I was going to talk about the X-Men news as coming up. I'm assuming you mean X-Men 97. Brian, by the way, if you want to drop in to talk about it, let me know. I'll drop you a link. You know, if you want to come on for a couple minutes to talk about it, because I'm really just going through my articles at this point. So and I will talk about that in the context of the next article I'm going to talk about. Right. So we'll go here. So Marvel and DC to reportedly reprint crossovers for the first time in decades, including Amalgam Comics and the JL Avengers. So why are they doing this? Why? Obviously, these are popular comics back in the day, but then, as Dan DiDio said, fans aren't buying our modern stuff; they're only buying reprints and graphic novels of older stuff. So this is yet again because everything they're doing is woke crap, as Brian, the Nerd Poor Life Forum, has said. You guys should check his channel; it's an awesome channel. Has said all this woke crap, so that they need to try to make money because they have stock. They're stocked in these companies. I mean, for Disney, so they have to try to generate something that sells, right? And their comics don't sell for Marvel and DC, except for Batman comics, but their graphic novels sell. Their collection. If you were to go on, I will show you as a matter of fact. Let me open it up and get a link to it. Uh, Need to find the catalog just got posted. Oh, here you go. Here we go. So I'm going to I'll just close out. Okay, and I'll share this tab. So this is Things from Another World. This is the online comic store I use to get my comics from, or one of the two of them anyway. And this is this is their February catalog that's posted, right? From the distributor, right? So I'm gonna obviously see figurines and whatever, fine, that's all great. But let's just page through here. I want to show you a few things. Notice what shows up. So September, they're advertising in September, you know, an omnibus collection of Ghost Rider, several of them, $90, and they know the fans are going to buy these because this is back when the comics were good. Uh, you know, uh, this I believe is the 1990s. Yeah, because it's Johnny Blaze versus Ghost Rider. So this is back when the Sons of Midnight, the 1990s. They know the fans will go buy that stuff because that was good comics, right? But let's keep going. You know. Oh, look, another Invincible Iron Man hardcover omnibus. And look, this is clearly 12 cents. Look how long ago that was. That would have been like the 60s or 70s. Okay. In fact, I own the comic actually with this particular this on the cover there. You know, or Ultimate Spider-Man omnibus, $87. Marvel, they know that like X-Men 97 isn't going to sell crap. No one's going to watch it because they wokeified it. But so they have to put something out of the market. So they're trying to their older stuff sells, and they're promoting it hard in the online catalogs. More Invincible Iron Man omnibus. You know, Fantastic Four Marvel Masterworks re-release. You know, Silver Age Classics, another classic release. You know, I mean, all this old stuff, right? Because if you guys haven't heard, X-Men 97, they couldn't leave well enough alone, right? They gave it to a woke person, and what the woke person did is basically um wokeify it. They made Morph into a bisexual or omnisexual or whatever. And this is stupid because there are X-Men characters who were created to be homosexual, like North Star, right? I know we all, everyone's all North Star, you're token. No, there are other characters. He's the one that comes on because it was big in the fandom. Like when John Byrne created him, and they couldn't, closer to the comic book, they couldn't outright say he was gay officially. But anytime interviewed, he said he's a gay character, and the fans accepted him perfectly, right? And there were other characters along the line who were homosexual who were accepted perfectly, or Psylocke when she became bisexual because of the merge between her and Revenge. Fans accepted that. Granted, she was hot, but that's a whole other issue. But instead, we get this woke. No one is going to the nostalgia bait for X-Men '97. They could have it. I was thinking about watching it and maybe getting it on Blu-ray or whatever. Not going to do it. Not paying money for. I just won't pay for woke crap. Just won't do it. So, Brian, that is my take on the X-Men news. And now going to let's see the male eye to go to the next article. Present share screen. So Madam Web has bombed, as we all predicted this was going to bomb, right? We all knew this, okay? But what doesn't get told is so Cosmic Book News, dads and 12-year-old boys love Madam Web as box office bombs, right? So let's scroll down because they're commenting about a dead spin. Deadline offers insights into audience who showed up to theaters. 2 stars on post track so far from 58% from general audiences, 53% guys, 40% women. And for some reason, parents, mostly dads, and kids under 12 saw a different movie. They gave it 4.5 stars, right? So basically, dads who know what they want to see on screen and preteen boys who are hormone driven more than anyone else. Brian, it's more than you're this and you're that. It's like I'm a firm believer that in the broad marketplace, there could be some woke comics here and some non-woke comics there, or woke movies here and one, right? But what they do with this stuff is they invade other properties, right? And they take it over and try to, change the other existing property to be woke and not make new original woke stuff. Because obviously, and people say, well, the woke stuff won't sell. The main reason the woke stuff won't sell is because the people doing it suck. Neil Gaiman has been woke since the 80s. His stuff sells because it's entertaining to read, even if you disagree with some of the stuff he does, right? So the woke people, the woke creators, they're a tool of the Marxists who are trying to change existing properties just to destroy it. And so you can replace it with something else. Not with the woke stuff, but with the Marxist propaganda. That's what they want to replace it with. Anyway, so it's patently obvious that the fan service audience of dads and preteen boys is going to find something to like in Madam Web. Well, Young Ripper did a video about it, and his take is mostly pretty solid. The X-Men, there was always a sort of relevancy to social issues with all of Marvel Comics. That was there from the beginning, right? But the relevancy to racism and bigotry was that Magneto was a Holocaust survivor. Not that there was, remember, Magneto was genocidal against humans himself. So the commentary was, like monsters turn someone into a monster, Now, Chris Claremont, he went way deeper into it in the 80s and 90s, but he did it reasonably well. You know what I mean? He did it in a social commentary way. Star Trek did it. The woke stuff is the modern era where they're taking. See, woke isn't. This is what the woke people, they're trying to redefine woke in a way that's beneficial to them by saying, "Oh, woke is just social commentary and teaching more." No, that's not what woke is. Okay, woke is replacing the original content with politically correct versions of it, and um, so so even Chris Claremont what and John Byrne weren't writing woke content in the '80s in the X-Men. They were they were making more socially relevant to some of the stuff being experienced, but they weren't. See, young Ripper has a habit of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? Star Trek has never been woke. Well, I mean, real Star Trek has never been woke, right? Um, fake Trek. I'll put it this way: even Abrams' Trek, if you think of the three movies, that wasn't particularly woke either. Woke is when Abrams left and Kirky took over, and all these stupid woke TV shows happened. Because I mean, as much as we, my opinion. I like the Star Trek films. I like the most of the first six with the original cast. I think they're all better than all the films after that, right? My problem with the Next Generation films is they were less like I don't know. The one I liked the most uh was Insurrection. It had a nice space battle in it. You know, I thought the story was stupid, but it could have worked. I've hated what they did with the Borg. You know my opinion. I've hated what Star Trek has done with the Borg since they made the Borg queen. You know, um, I disliked. I mean, I was okay kind of with it when it was a one-off type of thing. But then when the Borg Queen happened in First Contact, and I was like, I also I'm really anti time travel. There's too much time travel in Star Trek. It got worse by the show. Like one or two. You know what I mean? And all the movies that all the Next Generation movies start to smack of the stuff that was worse. And then Abrams movies, he like I said, he kind of got some stuff right. The actors playing the characters did for the most part a good job. Um, the storyline in Star Trek 2009 had time travel, which was an immediate I the main reason I dislike that film. Well, that was we talked about that. I think when I did your show, Brian. Like, do you remember? I called it nostalgia bait. LOLSTALGIA bait. Basically, they overloaded Star Trek Picard season 3, which was okay. Meaning, it was badly written, but it was okay. There are a lot of okay individual scenes, but the 10 episodes as a whole story arc were badly written. Right? They just drew too much into it, and there was so much thrown into it that they didn't have enough writing skill to make it all work. Right? Leaving aside the nostalgia bait with the excessive callbacks, you know, they had to almost ignore their own previous Picard. See, like, how did Picard plug the thing into his head and Borgify himself? Remember, he's an android like Data. You can't just plug it in. Remember the Borg Queen having to go through, spend a whole episode trying to hook Data up to the collective and not being able to do it. The whole rigmarole for Picard would have been the same thing. No, but Picard just the community forget that Picard's no longer physically human, plugs in so he can jack in the jack. Right? He's an android. He's virtually immune to anything the Borg can do to him. um, and then the change. They didn't need both the changelings and the Borg in that one. Um, as soon as I heard the Borg that they were using Borg technology to collectivize the fleet, I knew that was going to happen at the end. I think I still have to do my final 5 episode reviews of that. I got so burnt out on it. I was like, I can't. I just the atrocious writing killed me on that. Yeah, again, nostalgia bait, right? If the Enterprise E couldn't beat the Borg, how is the Enterprise D supposed to do it? I know they contrived that, you know, but like I don't understand. Again, if they had done the theme of Star Trek Picard was the shapeshifters infiltrating the Federation and doing political intrigue to bring it down. That could have been a really cool plot, right? Maybe they infiltrate and then they drop a disease on multiple Federation planets as retaliation for what they did to the founders, right? Excuse me. Like I said, Brian, if you want to drop in for a few minutes, let me know. But intrigue would have been better, and then they had like I don't know, how do I put it? Where are we? How do I put it? Oh yeah, okay. So let me. I'll say it to your X, your Twitter X, whatever. Invite, copy to. If I can find it, Brian. Editorial. Okay, I sent it out there, buddy. So I'm inviting Brian, the Nerdpura Lifeform. Again, you go check his channel out. He does a lot of Star Trek. He does some nice interviews. He's going to develop a good style for that. There we go. Let's do an audio check.
Yo.
I can't hear you, but that's because I don't have my headset on. So. Hopefully it charged up enough. Try again.
Peter Piper paid a bunch for pickled peppers.
Try again.
Hello.
Yep. Oh, good. So it's audio is now correct. Let me get back to side by side. There we go. I learned the command to stream it. If this was OBS, I could do anything I want with it, but it's StreamYard is a little, So, like we were saying, there's this whole, I've been thinking a lot. I don't know if you caught my stream for the last 3 times. I've been going over Star Trek fan films at the end of the last 3, and then this week I'm gonna do Lord of the Rings. I have 2 Lord of the Rings fan films, so it'll break up the monotony at all.
I still haven't watched the one that you sent, the one that was directed by Vic Mignogna.
Yeah, that was.
That's on my list of things to do.
Yeah. But it's sad that, like I was saying, Star Trek fan films continues, the Prelude to Axanar, and the other one I sent to you. Even some of the B-grade Star Trek fan films are better than Trek for the last 5 or 6 years. And Trek fan films are better than Trek since Deep Space Nine ended. I mean, it's
crazy. even better than Enterprise and Voyager.
Star Trek Continues is
it continues. Well, yeah. Continues is.
Continues. I mean, to Axanar, those 2 are as good as the big 3, which is TOS, Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine.
It's better, and I said this on streams. I think Continues is up there with the best of TOS, in my opinion.
Well, I agree.
I don't know if you agree with that.
I agree. I 100% agree. And the other series, Star Trek New Voyages, is almost as good as them. The one that only got canceled because they still have 3 episodes they were in post-production for, but it got kind of nuked when they made the rule with the whole Paramount lawsuit thing with Axanar. One of the rules they put in place was anyone who works on official Star Trek can't work on the fan films. And because the guy running Star Trek New Voyages or whatever it was called, Star Trek Phase 2 is the official name of the project because they use a lot of Phase 2 scripts. Because he actually worked on Star Trek series, one of the Star Trek series, he's not allowed to finish the post-production without their permission. So there's 3 episodes that's sitting out there. That was pretty good. Especially after the first episode was a little too much humor. But after that, they kind of got the balance right. And you would think, and you heard me say before, I don't really blame Abrams for it because he at least tried with his 3 films to be semi-Star Trek. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right? But this Kershey Trek, oh my God. I keep trying to watch it. And even I think you were reviewing Stranger Voyages. Is that what it was called? The one with the Enterprise before Kirk?
Strange New Worlds?
Digital Worlds, yeah. Like
Yeah, I did. I watched 5. I gave the 5-episode chance, and it was terrible.
Yeah, the actors look. I mean, I can't. The actor who played I can't blame him. Pike. He seems like a good actor, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you were saying that they cucked him, you know. And
yeah, I say this quite a bit. I said this yesterday with Technically Mexican. It feels like an internship in space as opposed to our Navy, following a chain of command, following a rigorous procedure because you're in the space. You're in space. It's a hazard. It's worse than being out to sea, and you still need the discipline to be out at sea.
You don't have to go that far. And I imagine Kirk, Picard, Cisco, Janeway, either 4 of them in that role as a captain, would they take the bullshit he was getting?
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Cisco would be like, "Don't do it again." Yeah, and it was just something simple. Like it was something as simple as Bashir interrupting him or stating his opinion, and Cisco, like, especially there was an episode, I think it was the episode Cardassians, where Bashir goes up, tries to make a point to Cisco, but while he's talking to Gul Dukat, and then when Cisco shushes him and stops, and then he calls him out, and he's like, "Don't you ever do that again, Doctor." Yeah. And Cisco is he's terrifying when you piss him off.
Well, Avery Brooks was I followed him before Cisco when he was Spencer for Hire as the other character. He was a great actor, and as he had his own show for 1 season, and I was the only person in America who watched that show. He played the support character in Spencer for Hire, right? And the guy had his own show, and I was like, when he got the Cisco role, I was like, this guy can do it. Because I mean, I don't want to disrespect Picard because he got better as it went on. You know, when they realized that splitting Kirk into Picard and Riker wasn't going to work, and they started making Picard be a little more ballsy as it went on, that's when he got good. But Cisco was like a throwback to Kirk. He was like, you respect the man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, heck, I'm sure you've seen Trials and Tribulations. How much Cisco how Cisco looks up to Kirk and all that. So
we talked about that. That episode could be a whole show. How Terry Farrell ad-libbed our whole performance because the actress was such a big fan of the original show.
Yeah,
she was just fangirling over it, so she had Dax fangirl it. It's like.
What's funny is I learned that Jadzia Dax died before I even watched Deep Space Nine, which explains why. Especially when I was a kid. I was a kid when the final season of DS9. I was in 8th grade. It was 98, 99. I was watching Voyager already, so I was already into Voyager. I actually watched Voyager first. Yeah. Deep Space Nine was harder to watch because it wasn't on a consistent schedule like Voyager was. Voyager was on UPN channel, and Chicago was channel 50. Yeah. And it was on every Wednesday night at 8 Central. So I used to watch it every week. Deep Space Nine was on WGN, and it was sporadic when that show would appear. And the thing was, Deep Space Nine was harder to get into because it was more seasonal. It was more seasonal arcs and all that. Yeah. So you had to watch earlier seasons to understand what the heck was going on. First episode I ever watched of Deep Space Nine was Call to Arms, the end of season 5, which was the time I started watching Voyager too. So that's one where they put the mines around the wormhole, and then the Dominion says, if you don't take them down, we're gonna attack. We're gonna take the station.
And that's one of the coolest things they've ever done in Star Trek. Those self-replicating cloak mines. I was like,
that 6-parter was nuts. And that final episode where they have to take back Deep Space Nine, and their enemies behind. There's Defiant runs off ahead. The enemies behind them with the fleet that they were fighting, and then you have enemies ahead in the wormhole.
Yep.
The Dominion reinforcements, and you're just like, how the heck are they going to get out of this? Well, you have to think about the magical, prophets.
The only thing I didn't like about TOS, Next Generation and Deep Space Nine era was the fleets got way too big. Like I was talking about this earlier in the show. I don't know if you want it. When I was talking about overexposure making you appreciate something less, right?
Yeah.
One of the values in TOS was there were only like 15 or 16 Constitution class vessels.
Mhm.
So in the M5 episode, when the Enterprise annihilates one of them and kills the whole crew, that's a
Yeah.
significant loss of Starfleet. So you feel it. You know what I mean? Those are 400 of the rarest people in the universe. And then by the time Deep Space Nine comes, what are they, like 10, 20,000 vessels or whatever, you know? And you're like, oh, they blew up another one. They blew up another one, you know? And that was my biggest complaint, I guess you would say, about like of the whole like I think, and that wasn't even Next Generation. I think early Next Generation they didn't have the fleet spam that they had in later Next Generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to like ultra nerd out on the particular details, but like I think they took the wrong lesson from Star Wars with all those giant fleet battles. You
Mhm.
know, but it was still
Because I remember TOS here, I think they only had like 10, 12 ships,
well,
Constitution
there
class
were,
ships.
I think there were officially like 'cause there's an original EU that got wiped out with more ships, but I think there were originally like 4 or 5 classes of vessel. The biggest one was the Constitution class, and there were 16 or 15 of them. Um, if I remember correctly, my 40 years ago knowledge. Then there was a couple of smaller vessels you've seen in some episodes, right? Um, but the Constitutions were the big ones, like they were the big Federation, main ships of the line type of thing, right? Um, in the original EU, they had the dreadnoughts, which existed in the original EU for Star Trek, but then when those novels got erased by the Next Generation era, then we went back to the original Connie and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when the Next Generation came around, and the movies came around, the idea was that the Connies were going to be replaced with. Originally, they were going to replace with Excelsiors, but then they said no, we'll make a Enterprise class replacement for the Connies, which was what the new Enterprise A was, right? And then they kind of sidestepped that. I think with a little retcon saying the Enterprise A was the only one of that type ever done with that super refit, and they went to all Excelsiors and Mirandas basically. Yeah, but the fleets were still kind of small until the Borg showed up and they had these giant fleets. But even then, Wolf 359 was such a big loss because that was like a sizable chunk of Starfleet, right?
Yeah, it was like 39 ships according to the Drumhead. So
Yeah, but then when you get to like a couple years later, Deep Space Nine, they're spamming these several hundred ship fleets around.
yeah, and you have like there's other Galaxy class ships. I mean, what was it in the Jem'Hadar? You had the Odyssey, which was easily dispatched by by a couple of Jem'Hadar warships.
Remember, the premise of the Galaxy class vessel is all their families are supposed to be on those ships.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So all those little kids were killed, and they never even said in the show, we decided to not put the families on the ships anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or just separate the saucer sections like in the special effects, But see, this is an indictment of Star Trek. We can talk about that. We can talk about TOS. We can talk about the Next Generation Season 9. We can talk about Voyager. We can even talk a little bit about some Enterprise. You know my opinion because of that horrible episode. With Similitude. I even though I liked some of the stuff they did in that show, especially once Manny Koto took it over with season 3 and 4.
Yeah, it was season. I think it was season 4.
Enterprise. And no one's going to object to Jolene Blaylock in the decon chamber.
No, of course not. I'm a jelly. I'm a jelly.
Yeah. Got to use plenty of that decon gel.
Yeah, I watched Broken Bow not too long ago, so I've been meaning to watch. I haven't watched Enterprise for over a decade. I haven't watched it since I've only seen it like twice. I think I've seen the entire series twice.
Well, yeah, I rewatched it.
I didn't even watch it when it came out. Like it completely. I did not like the theme song, and I didn't like the premise. I didn't like the idea that they were doing a prequel to the original series when we're already getting like the Star Wars prequels, which
I would have been okay with a prequel if the ship wasn't called the Enterprise. And they didn't have the stupid theme song,
Yeah, because I thought the first Enterprise captain was, Captain April. April, and the original Enterprise is the original Enterprise. So this NX, I'm fine with it now, but back then it was just like, why?
Yeah, I didn't like that they sort of made another previous Enterprise that was, that was stupid to me, and I didn't like how they retcon things like they should have had nuclear warheads, not primitive photon torpedoes like they eventually had. They shouldn't have had phasers. They didn't exist then. They were using lasers. Like the whole tech level should have been deliberately made more primitive, like which for the time period. You know what I mean? That would have been cool to see a more primitive future. Like, but instead they had the writers had to get into all their secret future tech. Then the time travel stuff. Oh my god, I'm sick of like. I'm okay with careful use of time travel, Guardian Forever, or
this the Strange New Worlds Guardian, or the Discoveries Guardian Forever.
oh god, I can't. There's an episode of Star Trek Phase 2 with the Guardian Forever. It's a sequel to the episode The Doomsday Machine. With the Doomsday Machine.
Phase two, the
That's the New Voyages. The other.
Oh, okay. Because when I think Phase 2, you think what would have been next.
Well, that project New Voyages or New Journeys or whatever it was called is offhand called Phase 2 because they took the Phase 2 scripts.
Yeah, I think they had a whole season of scripts. Yeah. I know. A couple of them were. What's funny is I'm surprised more of them were not adapted for TNG. Devil's Due, I believe, was adapted from Phase 2, and The Child, I believe, was the other one.
Yep. Well, I think a chunk of them became Star Trek 1 and 2, the movies.
Oh, I think the pilot. Was what became the motion picture.
Yeah, the pilot, and then some more of the other ones got kind of blended into Star Trek 2 from what I recall reading.
I'm curious
not so
what
much
kind of
Khan, but the idea of Space Marauder, which is what Khan was.
I'm curious. I wouldn't be surprised if New Trek did this. Bring the character of Science Officer Zahn to life somehow, because that's something they like to do. They like to take concepts that were abandoned back then, and bring them to life in some way that's probably going to be awful.
Well, they have Zahn. Zahn is in the new he's in almost all of the episodes. Funny enough, the same actor plays Zahn in more episodes than the same actors play Spock. Spock changes like every 2 episodes in that Phase 2 fan show, but the guy who plays Zahn is the same like 6 straight episodes. It's kind of funny, but like hopefully now with the reunification of all the IP in one place, when this Kurtzman contract whatever finally runs out, that will maybe eventually get I want a full reboot at this point. You know what I mean? Just ground zero.
A reboot from 2005 onwards.
Just totally separate universe, totally separate. No crossovers.
I mean, you already got the Kelvin timeline. Just keep messing with the Kelvin timeline.
Well, I would say no. Just a new timeline universe. Go back to the TOS era. The simplified small 15 starships against the universe. Just keep it big but small, big powerful ships but small. Don't have them still. Because although I will defend Next Generation, the change they made, that the ships were too fast under the way they were defined in TOS for the galaxy to remain unexplored fully in 100 years. But for those who don't understand, the original Connie Enterprise, if you follow what was in the show, is hundreds of times faster than anything that ever came after it. There's literally the trip from Earth to Vulcan, which was established a certain amount of time in Next Generation. In TOS, they got a much greater distance in 3 hours. So it's they also someone went through and did all the timings on it. But I would that would be my dream for Star Trek. Wipe out everything post Enterprise, basically. For one, but it's hard to fix. It's hard to fix the main universe because of all the time travel. You can't do a 200-year time skip because then you're basically at the Doctor Who territory. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that would be why I say reboot it. But they is PD new? This is a new guy or PD York? Welcome to the show, so to speak.
Oh, PD York's awesome guy. Big Star Trek fan. Big Deep Space Nine fan, and he's one of the people I like, and I've had conversations, especially about Picard season 3. He's one of the people that loves Picard season 3. So it's awesome to have that conversation with him.
Yeah. I have no problem with people liking Picard season 3 because it wasn't as bad as previous seasons. I struggle in the modern era with the horrible writing in a lot of TV shows, just the one I keep harping on, Picard's an android in season 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
How
Yeah.
does the plug-in work at the end if he's an android? We had a whole movie where she couldn't Borgify Data no matter what she did, and Picard's just an improved version of that type of android. Yet he got one plug and he Borgified. I mean, I just, but so there's a lot of that sort of stuff in there in Picard season 3. Now, if Picard season 1 and 2 had never happened and they cleaned up the writing, season 3 could have been pretty good Star Trek. There was potential there. That's why I'm okay with people liking it. I can't watch any of the animated shows. What is 2 animated shows now? Below Decks and something else. I can't watch them.
Lower Decks and Prodigy.
Yeah, the Lower
So
Decks.
Prodigy's the one where they brought back Voyager. They brought back Janeway and Chakotay.
Do you mean the movie or the movie or the TV show? I watched. I remember watching
the TV show. Metalis worked on the TV show.
Yeah, I kind of remember watching some of the TV show, but I wasn't enough a fan of the movie to want to watch the entire TV show. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. I asked other people, especially on the White Cloak server, if they've liked 12 Monkeys by Metalis, and they're like, nah, it's mediocre. So I can't speak for it. I haven't seen it myself. So
yeah, I remember feeling that 12 Monkeys. I don't know if you saw it.
I saw the movie. I saw the movie back in the day when I was in high school for films.
And we just did an in-depth on Roman of the Empire show a couple weeks ago, and it's my contention that it's a closed event. The entire movie 12 Monkeys is about a closed time loop. And when I watched the TV show, I remember thinking they're just going to drag this out to the same thing.
I heard it wasn't originally 12 Monkeys. It was originally a different concept.
Oh, maybe.
And then they changed it into 12 Monkeys or something.
Yeah.
Because I did a little bit when I made a video about why I was going to do Picard season 3 or cover it. I did research into Metalis. Everything. So yeah, he wrote two really good episodes of Enterprise. He wrote the episode with the Vulcan zombies, and he wrote the episode where they had to trick the Xindi weapons designer Degra into finding out where the weapon is.
Mm.
And that was a really good one. It was basically they were basically using deception to trick.
Yeah.
So
I didn't like the overall Xindi arc. I liked a lot of the individual subparts of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just felt that there was more time travel in it. My big thing, the time travel stuff I get. Oh, come on. We could do the entire story arc without time travel. You know what I mean? You don't need time travel to do the story arc, But I like the idea of, like an anti-federation, which was the Xindi. That kind of concept was cool,
Yeah, the Xindi were made up of every single animal kingdom. Like you had the insectoids, you had the mammals, you had the reptiles, you had the fish.
I thought they were whales, but yeah, like sapiens whales or something.
Yeah, the aquatics.
I made a joke online, wait, where is the whale probe? Why did you go to visit that world?
Yeah.
Back then, shouldn't that the alien probe be stopping over there soon to see what happened there? So that would have been a cool. That would have been not in modern Trek because they'd wreck it. Like some sort of they did in the comics. They had a follow up to the whale probe in the comics. It would have been interesting if they did like a Star Trek movie follow up to the whale probe. 100 years later.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And what's funny is, I don't know if you've ever watched Ahsoka or the Clone or the Rebels or something. I
Clone Wars and Rebels. And Ahsoka. Yes. So
yeah, there's a race of whale of giant spaceborne whales. The Purrgil, I think, is what they're called.
Yeah.
I assume. I just make it in my head canon. The Purrgils. The whale probe was part of the Purrgil race, and it was sent by them. So there's a stupid crossover between the Trek verse, the early Trek verse, and the crappy Disney Star Wars verse.
Yeah. Well,
I really wish the whale probe would do to the Disney Star Wars verse that like it did to Earth, take away its power and its energy and just,
or better yet, have like a whole fleet of doomsday probes go to the Disney Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah, there you go.
You know,
Take it all out. Take it out. That's it.
erase it, man. But well, Elon Musk might save Marvel and Star Wars soon.
What with the Gina
Apparently, he's no.
Carano
Apparently,
thing?
he's backing Perlmutter and the other guy, Celts.
So I forget. Perlmutter's still in the game. I know he's. I think he was the CEO of Marvel Entertainment,
he was
right?
the owner and CEO of Marvel. He bought it from the other guy who ruined it in the 90s. And then he merged into Disney, and then Disney separated Marvel Studios, which and gave that to Fahey, and the rest of Marvel, which was TV and comics, they left under Perlmutter, right? And then eventually they pushed him out and gave it all to Fahey, and then it got completely ruined, of course, under Fahey. And Perlmutter, however, is still a big stockholder, but he wasn't big enough for them not to be able to push him out. So now he's thrown his weight behind this other guy,
Peltz, right? Elson Peltz.
Yeah, they formed a block that want. See, Disney. For those who've never looked into this, prior to Peltz and Perlmutter, there were 3 blocks on Disney's board. There was the Disney family block, which had their associates. There was a block that wants to make money and just wants to make money. And there's the woke block, the DEI block.
How many board members would constitute a block?
I don't remember the numbers, but they were basically had about 1/3 of control of Disney each. That's why I say there's 3 of them, right? And for some reason, the Disney family kept siding with Iger's faction, which is the woke faction. Okay.
Yeah.
But they've been growing more and more dissatisfied because they keep losing all this money, right?
Is Kennedy on the board at all? Kathleen Kennedy?
She's not on the board, but she has so much. She had when she like Lucas bought Harder company right into Lucasfilm and merged them in. And then when Lucas merged into Disney, Kathleen Kennedy and her husband got a huge chunk of stock out of it. They're not on the board, but they're very well connected. They're like Perlmutter. They could be pushed out, but it would take a lot. Like they didn't want to push her out because she does the DI stuff.
And if I remember correctly, when Lucas sold Lucasfilm, I think he didn't get cash. He got stock, didn't he? All he got was stock.
He had to take some cash because of the divorce.
Yeah.
He took some cash and some stock because I remember he had to give a chunk of it to his ex-wife or whatever.
Who, Marsha?
Was it Marsha? I don't follow the personal lives too much. Other than
I mean, he divorced Marsha right after the original trilogy, so that was back in the 80s. So
I think he got divorced again or something. I remember there being some controversy that one of the reasons that people say he would sell him because he was getting divorced. I don't remember all the details of it, But I know he didn't get all cash and all stock.
Well, he remarried someone and he lives in Chicago. He lives in Chicago. I don't know if you've seen that. I don't know if there was someone who was doing a documentary and they were walking in the city and all of a sudden Lucas bombed the documentary by just looking at the camera, walking behind the guy. Have you seen that?
I remember the reference. I never seen the documentary. No.
I haven't seen the documentary either, but I saw that clip. I'm like, oh, this is definitely Chicago. So he's hanging out. He's hanging out in the Windy City here.
He is like, there's a word for this. He's aware of the broader fandom universe. He like the Han. Remember, he wore the Han Shot First T-shirt.
Yeah.
So he's in mentally, even if he disagrees. Like he'll do his thing.
Yeah, and Lucas never called people names for hating on the prequels. And I mean, it was popular to hate on the prequels. It was popular to hate on the TNG films. I mean, this was that era. I mean, and you could thank Red Letter Media and a whole bunch of other people reviewing it that did that, and everybody was like, oh really, and it was food for thought, and criticism. Now when you do something, now Lucas didn't have the power to force people to like it or use thing, but that's because he wasn't a corporate. He wasn't corporate. He was just I don't know if he was considered. Was he considered independent? He was
like Elon. He owned his businesses entirely himself.
Yeah, so everything that happened was he funded. Like it was stuff that he funded himself.
Yeah. And but now with apparently the word Elon is going to back Peltz or Celts, whatever his name is, and Perlmutter's faction, and push to take over Disney and Elon's not the hero we want, but he's the hero we need. The billionaire who wants to do something,
Mhm.
Because it's a shame that so many of these beloved franchises, like Star Wars is in the dirt, Star Trek's in the dirt, Doctor Who is in the sludge, even deeper than the dirt.
Mhm.
Marvel is crap. DC is crap. The only good DC right now is Superman and Lois, the TV show. It's the only good DC out there right now. Yeah. Those are some big franchises. Now, Babylon 5, even though JMS will not bastardize his own product, so he still has complete control over it.
Did you see the latest animated thing that he did for Babylon 5?
I haven't. I have to get it on Blu-ray. Has it come out on Blu-ray yet?
Yeah, it came out. It came out. I actually have my copy. I haven't watched it yet though,
Yeah,
because
I
I
gotta
need
grab
to
it real quick.
rewatch. I need to rewatch the entire series.
Yeah.
So
I won't do like sometimes I'll pirate stuff just to watch and buy Babylon 5. I'm going to buy it no matter what. So I was waiting for Blu-ray to come out for it, and I won't do streaming anymore. Look what they did to Funimation. All those people who paid for that streaming anime, and now they're
Mhm.
losing it all.
Yeah.
There should be a class action lawsuit over that. So it's. I always tell people. I emphasize, buy original media. There's a lot of people selling their used media if you can't afford it. I buy I'll buy original books if I can. But it's been my price. But there's a bunch of books I buy used hardcovers, perfectly good copies. Just peel off the library stickers and you got a copy of a book. And it it's a shame. You can never. What was one of these DEI guys from like BlackRock was saying at the World Economic Forum?
They want to change. They want to change. They want to invoke change.
And they want to condition people to not owning anything anymore.
Yeah. I forgot his name. BlackRock guy.
Like right now, the only Windows I have I think
Larry Fink. Larry Fink.
Was him. Yeah.
Yeah. That this guy. But yeah, there's video of him just saying, "Hey, we want to impart change, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it through our investing practices."
Yeah, and you gotta protect yourself now with all the people looking to destroy everything you enjoy. Not even that you like. It's worse. It's worse than destroying your life now. They want to make it impossible to enjoy life unless you do it on their terms.
Yeah, and that's why it's to me it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable, and it's just like it's something I would never want to support ever. I never want to support those people. They've kind of made their bed by acting the way they do. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, they can eat me.
Oh, they can to take a long walk off a short pier. That's
exactly.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
or as my uncle used to say, eat shit and die, but not necessarily in that order.
I've heard that. That's a harsh one, but I've never said that myself. But I've heard people say that. So
I was a little kid and told to say that to someone once, and my grandma like, "Good job."
All right, but Matt, thanks for inviting me. I have to.
No problem. Thank you. You're my first ever guest. There you go. So
first ever guest. Oh my gosh.
Well, I had on a previous live stream I tried to do last year for a few weeks. That was late night. But I wasn't one for either of us. But you're my first official regular live stream guest. There you go.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me, Matt.
Thanks, man.
All right. Take care.
Bye. That was Brian, the Reporter Life Form. I'll add his link below. He's a great channel. That's great. He does a lot of great interviews. He developed a really good interview style with his shows. So he can get really big with that. Talked about Star Trek. We just talked about that for like half an hour or whatever. He's a big Lord of the Rings fan. He's an up and coming reader on a lot of stuff. Obviously he's younger than I am, but he's reading a bunch of stuff for the first time. So as he's doing his journey with the Wheel of Time and all that, you could follow along with him. And get a new person's experience as opposed to someone like me who's read this stuff or seen them decades ago, and maybe I'm an old fogey to you. But so when you find these new guys, people experiencing content for the first time, new, you can it's pretty cool to have. So I'll continue the show now. I have. Let's go back. I have a couple. I usually go to 4:15. I'll probably go to 4:30 today, just because I want to get at least a couple of articles in. And a couple. I want to get the 2 fanfic films in, and I'll go through the 3 articles I have left. But I won't do the random articles like I usually do. So let's go back to here. And so now we were talking about the eye candy effect, of course. Now we'll go to some good news. Some heavy metal news. Those of you who are my age remember the girls of KITTIE. They were literally a bunch of like 13 and 14-year-olds. We're all in our 20s, and these girls rocked. They were like a thrash metal. They impressed Pantera. That's how good these girls were. And then they kind of broke up a little, and they came back and broke up like a lot of bands. And now they come. I don't know what their new sound is going to be. But I'm gonna check their album out, and so should you. Other albums you should check out: Boys to Cult's final studio album, which would be a combination of re-recording a bunch of rare tracks in the past and a couple of new ones. That's coming out in the next 4 or 5 months, if I remember correctly. So that's another thing you should check out. A whole bunch of new stuff has just come out from At the Gates, from In Flame, from Iron Maiden, from Bruce Dickinson. So a whole bunch of cool music. Judas Priest has a new album out. Who else? It's a whole bunch of really good music. Kerry King's his first album for his solo band after Slayer, I believe, coming next year, but I think he previews a song maybe. So there's a lot of good music in the metal rock era that you should check out. So let's go on. Again, I want to get through articles because I want to talk about the fan films. We're up to the science articles. Now, this is a relatively minor one. I'm not going to give as much time as I originally thought because of the time limit, but now that it's minor. But this is about plate tectonics. And plate tectonics, to me, is fascinating because when you think about it, like, let's see if I can give let's make me big here. So let's say this is the Earth, right? Right. Well, the crust of the Earth is literally, relatively speaking, thinner than the thickness of my fingers, and the molten inside of the Earth is basically gigantic. And our entire civilization, our entire world, and what we know is like 20, maybe 30 kilometers of rock floating on top of such a vast sea of magma that we could be submerged and vaporized completely, and we will be as if we didn't exist. Yet the plate tectonics keeps these stony plates, cooled stone, afloat while the edges are being subducted under. And now this is where they're being. Now this article is about how the place, the opposite of the edges, are being thinned out as they pull apart. So that's why I linked this article about plate tectonics to you guys. It's a kind of fascinating read. And of course, had I of course clicked share this tab, you would have saw the article. Right? Let's say I have one more science article, and this is a computer science / engineering article. So every so often they discover a new sort of effect in physics, or like 20 years ago they detected memristors, which are like resistors that have memory, to keep it grossly simple. And they're becoming something in technology that enables newer stuff like much higher speed physical memory, for example, right? Well, this is a little wonky, so I can't explain it completely on screen, right? Because it's at the edge of what I understand in physics from what I remember. It's a little wonky, but not all magnets are the same, right? So one of the main limitations of shrinking down hard drive technology, right, and making ever increasing disks is the external magnetic fields the devices, the tiny bits exert, altering the bits next to each other. This is the type of magnet, altered magnets, that don't have those external magnetic fields, which means that you can get even smaller memory units, which means your 16 terabyte disks could, if this is fully implemented, be like 100 terabyte disks, so on the physical hard drive space. And it has implications for density of RAM, density of SSD, of flash memory as well. So this is a cool thing to read through. So, those are science articles. Now we're on to the portion of my fan film discussion. So I've been talking about Star Trek fan films the last couple of weeks. So today we're going to talk about Lord of the Rings fan films. Now, so there. As those of you who know me know, I respect the theatrical versions of the Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings. I thought The Hobbit films are a hot mess, but they could be edited down to 2 good movies as opposed to 3. 3 average of men movies. I'm not. I have my problems with the theatrical versions in terms of lore changes, but I can live it with theatrical versions. I'm not a big fan of the extended version because they make all the stuff I don't like with the changes much more prominent, right? So that being said, within that context, there are 2. I mean, there are other okay to good Lord of the Rings fan films, but these 2 are as good as Peter Jackson's films, and actually more lore based than that. The first one is Born of Hope. It's about the birth of Aragorn, and the threats to his life that the orcs. Sauron was hunting to exterminate the line of the kings, both of them, because there's a line descended from Isildur and a line descended from Anarion. And Aragorn's parents remerged the 2 lines of kingship into one, after several thousand years. So, Born of Hope is about the birth of Aragorn. I'm going to play a couple minutes of it, just no audio, so I don't think I'll get dinged, but I think they use the actual Lord of the Rings audio. They use a lot of the stylings of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. It's filmed in a similar type of area. It's very beautiful looking. These are Aragorn's parents as they met. So this is basically a nice retelling version of Aragorn's birth, so to speak. The death of the parents, and so that's that one. And the other one I'm going to recommend is The Hunt for Gollum, which was really good. Same thing. I'll play without, give you some flashes without the audio. You know what? I didn't. Dumb ass Matt did not share the. I'll go back and share some video from Born of Hope in a second. This is the search for Gollum. This is when Aragorn was trying to find Gollum after he escaped from Mordor, but before he escaped from Mordor. Yeah. Very well done, great acting. So I recommend that one. And I'll go back and I'll show you because I didn't screen share Born of Hope. So again, as I said, the orcs were trying. Sauron had his forces trying to exterminate Aragorn's line before he was even born. Very well done. Very casting is good. The writing is good. The cinematography, the filming. So those are my fan film recommendations for this week. Are these 2 Lord of the Rings fan films, Born of Hope and Hunt for Gollum? I have the links down below to them so you can find them. I'm going to add in Brian Naporial's link below that so you can go to his channel. PD York, if you're still listening, thank you for coming on being one of my new chat guests. I didn't see my regulars out there. Maybe hopefully they'll listen to in the in a follow-up. Anyway, so that's kind of my show. It's 4:18. You know what? I have time to do one random lookup article like I usually do at the end. So I will do one just to finish it off with a good thought. It's not a good thought. Actually, you know what? I want to do music. I didn't give enough talk about music. I want to see. I'm going to go to Metal Injection. Let's see if there's anything on there. That's what I'll do. So I will show off the three or four music sites I go to. So here's Metal Injection. I always read news from them. They're a good source for music news. Then I like to go to Blabbermouth, even though they're a little politically biased. They have some good news there. They have good information they'll give you out there. Okay. Then I like to go to, as far as pure music, I should do Metal Injection, Radio Times, which is less metal, but has a lot. Talks about this in TV. This Radio Times has a good mix between. It's BBC oriented between radio and video content, right? Then the last music site, another music site I go to is Ultimate Classic Rock. They're in the middle of their top countdowns of all time, so you know. They'll hopefully have some more, and that's pretty much the music sites. Anyway, I think I've wind down long enough for you guys. So my next week's fan films, there are a couple of Dresden Files short films which are pretty good. I'll hunt them down and talk about them maybe next week. Yeah, because I think I'm gonna try to. I don't know how far along I can go with fan films after talking about my show, but I think I will try to highlight some good fan films at least a couple times a month, if not every week. But next week, definitely, I'll do the Dresden File ones. Anyway, my name is Matt. This has been on Rebel 73. It's Friday Fandemonium, the crown prince of Fandemonium here. I'll rock out the weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Get some good old content. There is some quiet, new, good content out there, but it's hard to find with all the woke crap. Have a great weekend. Avoid the dental pain. And I am out of here. Oh, and thank you to my first ever guest on Friday Fandemonium. I did technically do my previous person I mentioned, Stephen Ransom. He wasn't a guest; he was a co-host, whereas Brian was a guest. So that's a distinction between the two of them. But thank you for coming on, Brian. Hopefully, I don't know how much I can grow your channel. Because usually I'm more to grow my channel, but anyway. And it's always great talking Trek and fandom with you. We're of like-minded from different ages, different. Anyway, have a great weekend, everyone. Like if you like, share it out there. Keep the fandom clean.